Hi my friends, what's up? Welcome to the last installment of this course. In this video we're going to talk all about the wands of the tarot suit. And I know that in other videos or like in sections of videos there were definitely like noises and music in the background, and so I apologize for the current music playing from my next door neighbor, and hopefully it's not too distracting, but I'm excited. So the wands coincide with the element of fire. So this is Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo energy. Fire speaks to energy in general. This is like creative energy, this is sexual energy, this is passion embodied, this is spirituality, kind of. It's this etheric, uncontrollable, hard to contain, hard to understand energy. The artist, Pamela, or Pixie, she depicted the wands as very like phallic, looking, and that's on purpose. Like there's something very divine, masculine about this energy. It's aggressive and assertive. It can be competitive, but we're gonna see the pros and cons and how to work with different ways in which passion expresses itself and can manifest in our lives. So let's get started. We'll start with the Ace of Wands. In this card, we see the hand of God, or a hand coming out of a cloud holding a wand that is covered in leaves. So there's something very natural, very primal about this energy. And below it, we see a little scenic landscape with a castle on a hill. So right off the bat, the Ace of Wands represents an opportunity for a new passionate beginning. This can represent a creative idea. This can represent a breakthrough, some kind of like mental clarity of sorts, but it's different from the Ace of Swords. So in the Ace of Swords, the energy of the Ace of Swords is more of a breakthrough after a long period of confusion, okay? And even with the Ace of Swords, there's not necessarily a need to act on this energy. It is simply a breakthrough, an idea, a aha moment of sorts. With the Ace of Wands, it can be an aha moment, but there's so much energy here that this wants to be used. When the Ace of Wands shows up, it's like it's time to take action, or you're so tempted to take action that if you don't right now, you're gonna kill your momentum. The Ace of Wands has like a timer to it, because passion does die. Our passion, our momentum does ebb and flow, and it fades. The Ace of Wands is essentially like a burst of excitement. So this can represent and manifest as a very flirty conversation, or just the very beginning of a new sexual or romantic relationship. This can also represent the beginning of your own spiritual journey, and you starting to, or anyone you're reading for, starting to pursue their spirituality more seriously, or like pursue something that sets their soul on fire. The Ace of Wands is a creative project. The Ace of Wands is a creative idea. The Ace of Wands can also represent anger or anxiety. Like I said, there's something about this energy that feels like it's temporary. So because of that, it can be temperamental. All right, when we see this energy in the reverse position, this is a lack of passion, a lack of progress, a lack of momentum. This is when the excitement of a situation is slowly but surely dying down. And so because of that, the Ace of Wands can represent like a creative project that you're not excited to work on anymore. Or a relationship, a person that the spark is just, it's not what it used to be. Essentially, the Ace of Wands in the reverse position is a sign that your heart is not in it. Your heart isn't committed to this thing, whether it be a person, place, or opportunity. And if anything, the Ace of Wands in the reverse position represents an opportunity like falling apart. And typically when you see the Ace of Wands in the reverse position, check in to see whether or not like you could be doing something to stoke the fire and reawaken the passion that you used to have in the situation, or if it's a sign to listen to your heart and let something go to the wayside. I was gonna say let something die, but like the Ace of Wands can be a sign to let go of something that is draining your energy. In summary, the Ace of Wands is a like new feeling of being in love with life. It's a literal like lust for life. And so for that reason, it represents new opportunities and new potential adventures of sorts. Okay, so from the Ace, we add another wand into the equation and we get the Two of Wands. In this card, we see a man who is most likely standing from like a balcony of a castle, and he is holding one wand in his hand and he's holding a globe in his other hand. He's cloaked in red and orange. So he himself is very passionate, very sacral chakra and root chakra-y. He is looking at both the globe in his hand, the world, and looking out at the scenery in front of him, which is a nice little landscape of a body of water and the town that he lives in. Okay, so the Two of Wands is about planning. It's about pausing, looking at what's in front of us, and daydreaming, basically, about what could be. Typically, the Two of Wands shows up when it's time to get a lot more intentional and picky about where we're placing our energy. This can also represent the fact that something has already started gaining momentum, and in order to uphold that momentum, you have to be very disciplined about how you spend your time. The Two of Wands is about waiting and planning. So because of that, this energy can be a little anxious, a little apprehensive, a little too cautious. This energy can also be like super excited and like an anxious, nervous, like I can't wait until X, Y, and Z happens. The Two of Wands can also represent the fact that carrying the weight of the world feels like a burden, and sometimes we can stress ourselves out by thinking too much about the future, right? Because the wands are about passion, because twos are about partnership, and because this man is standing in a castle separate from the rest of his town, city, countrymen, the Two of Wands can represent boundaries and having boundaries with other people. The Two of Wands can also represent long distance relationships, and there's also a sadness to this card. Depending on how you see it, depending on how it's showing up in the reading, it can represent having the weight of the world on your shoulders and feeling like there's so much you want to accomplish, or there's so much you have to accomplish, which is something that we're going to see again later on in the Ten of Wands. But for right now, this card typically can like stress you out if you let it. But in any event, this card is also about holding a vision. Regardless of the reality you see in front of you, regardless of what other people think you should be doing with your life, this card is a moment of pause, self-reflection, checking in with yourself, getting real with yourself about what you're passionate about, and then holding a vision that doesn't yet exist yet, that a vision that isn't in your physical reality yet. Okay, so when the Two of Wands is in the reverse position, this typically represents a lack of vision, a lack of being able to like almost trust yourself, a lack of faith. The Two of Wands can represent a need to be more flexible in your planning, a need to be more flexible in your approach to life in general. The Two of Wands typically represents a lack of excitement, and we're going to see that in general. When the Wands cards are in the reverse position, this is a lack of excitement, a lack of momentum, a lack of passion. And typically, if you want like an answer to a yes or no question, the Two of Wands in the reverse position is going to be a hard no. Okay? And last but not least, in the reverse position, the Two of Wands can represent not having enough faith or confidence in your plan. Not enough faith and not enough confidence in who you are as a person and your ability to execute that plan. All right? But essentially, this energy is about planning and plotting, okay? This isn't necessarily about taking action quite yet. We're gonna see that in the 3, kind of, sort of, and I'll get into that in a second. But overall, Two of Wands, this is about holding a vision. Holding a vision that sets your soul on fire, all right? So, like I said, moving on to the 3. 3 of Wands, stereotypically, is about waiting. But we're talking about wands, we're talking about passion, we're talking about fire. So even though this card does symbolize a moment of pause, it's an active pause. The momentum is building. Your plan is coming to fruition. There's a form of development here. 3s are about creation. 3s are about things coming together and starting to manifest in front of your very eyes. In this card, we see a man. He's got a red robe on, a little bit of green, a little like polka dot action happening here, and he's got like a crown of sorts on his head. He's got 1 wand in his arm and then 2 next to him, and he's standing on like a dry piece of land. And some people believe that this man is a hunter, and other people believe that this man is a young king. In any event, a hunter or a king are men that are involved in trade and trade goods with sailors. So in the very, very background of this card, there's a body of water, and he is waiting for ships to come in so that he can make a deal of sorts. His robe, being very like patchworky, speaks to this idea that he's a self-made man, okay? He's worked hard for what he has. So we see the 3 of Wands when something is already being created. Something has already taken root. There's a project, there's an opportunity, there's a relationship that's already coming to fruition, already getting off the ground. He is a man that's willing to take a risk. So the 3 of Wands is a very kind of crazy, kind of unhinged energy at times, because this is the energy of doing something that not a lot of people are willing to do. The 3 of Wands is also about problem solving and creative solutions. This is the energy of getting out of your own way and doing what needs to be done and not caring how other people perceive you. This is the energy of like being really, really true to yourself and what you need in that moment. The 3 of Wands is about seeking what you need, seeking your desires. This energy can be a little selfish, but it's because you're on a mission and so you need to get something done. And because of that, like if people aren't helping you along your path, it can feel like they're hindering you in some way, shape, or form. Essentially, the 3 of Wands is a form of momentum and energy being built. There's some kind of development, there's some kind of growth happening here. So when we see the 3 of Wands in the reverse position, this signifies a blockage in momentum. This signifies an opportunity, a relationship, a project being hindered in some way, shape, or form. Now, this can manifest 2 different ways. The hindrance can be something that physically exists in your reality, a conversation that needs to be had, some kind of blockage that can be actively worked through with others. However, sometimes the blockage is your own internal sense of momentum. And so 9 times out of 10, the Three of Wands in the reverse position is assigned to readjust and recalibrate the way you feel about this thing, or just pay more attention to what your feelings are trying to communicate to you. Because there's a reason why there's a lack of passion here. There's a reason why there's a lack of momentum. There's a reason why something isn't growing the way it needs to. All right. So in the reverse position, this essentially signifies a need to readjust. Something needs to be tweaked, all right? This can also be a sign of impatience and frustration, but essentially there's a need to take accountability for what isn't working when the Three of Wands is in the reverse position. All right, there is a sense of flow and ease to the Three of Wands, but there's also a need to take action. There's a need for you to co-create, a need for you to take responsibility in the molding, in the shaping, in the creation of something, whether that be a relationship, a project, an opportunity. Something needs your attention to detail and wants to be cared for and like wants to be nurtured with your energy. From the Three of Wands, we move on to the Four, and in this card, we see a wedding scene. So the Four Wands in the foreground are holding up a huppah, the like Jewish canopy that signifies and sanctions off a sacred space for a bride and groom to be wedded under, or I guess like a groom and groom, a bride and bride. Choose your player, pick your style. So in this card we also see a castle, the town getting together, supporting these people. One person is wearing blue and white, the other one's wearing red, they're holding up flowers. There's also a bridge again in the background. The last time we saw a bridge, that was in the Five of Cups, and bridges represent transition. So the bridge here signifies the fact that like a wedding is a major life event, and we're moving from singlehood, we're moving from childhood, our youth, into the next stage of adulthood, right? All right, so the Four of Wands represents a stability of passion. So yes, this is a card about relationships. Yes, this is a card about like actual weddings. Yes, this is a card about two people coming together and celebrating their love for one another. But ultimately, this is about protecting and committing to something or someone that you love, something or someone that you're passionate about. And so it doesn't have to be romantic love, and it doesn't have to be a traditional wedding. So in the background, we got those friends and family members attending the wedding, right? Okay, they are important because they add an element of support here. The Four of Wands speaks to feeling supported by the people around you, feeling like your community, your family, your partner, they genuinely have your best interest in mind. But this is the energy of also like supporting yourself and supporting what you're passionate about and being loyal to your own passions, being loyal to your own interests and pursuing your ideas, pursuing your creative, entrepreneurial impulses and interests. The Four of Wands is about stability. It's about building a strong foundation for yourself. The Four of Wands is also a sign to celebrate. It is indicative of the fact that it took you a lot of consistency and took you a lot of concerted effort and patience to get to where you are right now. The Four of Wands is a symbol of success. It speaks to this idea that you created something from nothing. Because the Three of Wands was self-made. This is the energy of like a startup company, and there's a lot of moving parts here and a lot of bits and pieces that were still coming together. The Four of Wands represents security, stability. There's something completed and impressive about the Four of Wands. So like I said, this is always an invitation to celebrate, to be proud of the work that you've done and how far you've come, just as a person. And it's also a sign to remember where you came from. Remember how long it took you to get to this place, and remember the journey that it took to get to this place, okay? Now, when we see the Four of Wands in the reverse position, this represents a lack of support, a lack of stability, and a lack of commitment. Depending on the rest of the reading, the Four of Wands in the reverse position can very well signify a breakup or a relationship that just doesn't have a very strong foundation. When we see the Four of Wands reversed, it tends to feel like a lack of confidence in ourselves and our own ability to be consistent. The Four of Wands in the reverse position is an inability to show up repetitively because we don't have the energy, we don't have the capability to do so. This can also represent delays, like a party being delayed, a wedding being delayed, a form of celebration being delayed. This can also represent you missing someone or someone being missed, someone important to you not being able to attend a party or a wedding or a celebration. So in conclusion, the Four of Wands is about stability, it's about support, it's about a strong foundation. In the reverse position, there's a lack of support, a lack of an ability to nurture and be consistent in a commitment, okay? In the upright, this is a sign of hard work paying off. And to reach a Four of Wands moment, there was a lot of effort and a lot of compromise that got you to this point, okay? Now, from the Four, we move on to the Five of Wands. From this beautiful wedding celebration, we move on to a fight between soldiers, between people that are essentially on the same team. In this card, these five men, these five people are practicing. And so each of them is holding a very large stick, and they're standing on green ground with a blue background. And actually that ground is like kind of yellowy green. So green is about growth and maturity. Yellow is about enlightenment. And so, and just like gaining wisdom, gaining knowledge. So I think it's interesting, and I think it's poignant that the ground is a mix of that green and yellow. We see one man wearing green, one man wearing yellow, one man wearing blue, one is in red, and the red guy's got a fun little hat. And then we see some polka dots. Yes, he came ready. He came to play. Okay, so Five of Wands. This is an energy of conflict and being argumentative and feeling like you need to prove yourself, prove your worth. However, like I said, these guys are fighting, but they're practicing. So the Five of Wands is about practice. It's about the fact that we strengthen our voice by using it. We strengthen our skill set by using it. This energy is also about competition and having a rivalry with someone or something, or wanting to stand out. The Five of Wands can show up when we're competing for someone's attention. So this can manifest as like jealousy or even like insecurity. So this can speak to romantic relationships, but also like co-worker situations. The Five of Wands is also about sports and sportsmanship and healthy forms of competition, essentially just like working with others and using your energy to accomplish something bigger than you with another person. Like I said, this is about using your unique perspective to tackle a problem at hand. Because fives in tarot, fives in numerology, this is the energy of conflict. There is some kind of obstacle, there is some kind of argument, there is some kind of change that needs to take place. And before that change can happen, like, things have to get worse before they can get better. Okay? In the reverse position, this typically represents the fact that you should like be a little bit more independent right now. Maybe it's not time to work with others, and instead focus on what you want to do, focus on your own passions, focus on your own goals. The Five of Wands in the reverse position is definitely the feeling of, you won, I quit, I'm going home. Like, I'll take the L, it's not worth fighting over, it's not worth the energy, it's not worth my time, I'm gonna excuse myself. But in general, there's something very defeated about the Five of Wands in the reverse position. So this can represent feeling as if the odds are stacked against you. The odds are not in your favor. This obstacle, this conflict is too much to handle, essentially. And so typically in the reverse position, it represents you removing yourself from a situation. Or like I said, being a lot more independent and focusing on doing things your own way instead of trying to compete to do things in a traditional setting. In the Five of Wands, we feel a need to assert our dominance. We feel a need to assert ourselves into the situation at hand. But in regards to like the sports analogy, in regards to the fact that fives are about change and wands are about passion, like this card can represent practicing whatever you're passionate about and showing up and like not only proving your skill set and proving your dominance to others, but like proving it to yourself. And in the Five of Wands, if we put in the work, it tends to lead to the Six of Wands. The Six of Wands represents being triumphant over obstacles. So this is a card of victory, success, achievement. This is about recognition. The man on this horse is a hero. And the people around him are supporting and are grateful for what this hero has done. The horse represents freedom. The horse represents power and movement and honor and nobility. Six of Wands is about attention and admiration. So this can play out in a couple different ways. One, this energy can represent someone who naturally receives a lot of attention for the way that they look or the way that they carry themselves. This can also be someone who is like famous or has some kind of notoriety, has some kind of following, has a lot of people that are looking to them for advice usually, or like looking up to them, putting them on a pedestal because of the value that they bring to the world, because of the choices that they've made. Because however, the Six of Wands can also represent you or the person you're reading for just feeling more seen, feeling appreciated, feeling supported by the people around them. In the upright position, this card is some kind of accomplishment. It's some kind of achievement. It's some kind of victory. It's some form of external validation that is being provided. Now, in the reverse position, this is the energy of not feeling secure in oneself, and so you're seeking external validation. The Six of Wands in the reverse position feels like imposter syndrome. It feels like not being good enough, not feeling successful. This card feels like a lack of freedom, a lack of independence, a lack of personal sovereignty, because something is blocking you from being able to understand how successful you already are. In the Six of Wands reversed, we don't feel seen, we don't feel special. Sixes are also about movement, right? So whether it's in the upright or the reverse position, this card is an invitation to move on, to leave something behind. Because the truth is, even in the upright, even in this mode of celebration, you can't stay in this energy for too long. I mean, you can stay on your high horse for as long as you want to, but the truth is there's consequences to resting on your laurels. Okay, so whether upright or in the reverse, The Six of Wands is about allowing yourself to feel seen and viscerally understand the value that you bring to other people just by being you, just by moving through your own personal lived experience and overcoming everything that you've been through. Like I said, this is triumph over obstacles. This is the success of just surviving. Surviving what you had to fight for and fight your way through. From the Six, from, I don't know if this is Scottish or not, but this is my attempt at Scottish. Ready? From the Six of Wands. That wasn't too bad. But so from the 6, we move on to the 7. From this moment of recognition and feeling appreciated, we move on to the 7 of Wands. This energy is a little switch up, a little hard pivot. Okay, so the 7 of Wands, we see this man he's got a stern, aggressive face going on. Okay, he's very focused. He's a little scary, intimidating looking, and he's got 2 hands on 1 wand, and then 6 are sticking up from the rocky ground in front of him. And this energy is about fighting for what you believe in. This is about having a guard up. This is the energy of self-defense and stubbornness and resilience, but also courage. The 7 of Wands is about determination. This is about fighting to be heard. And there's something a lot more independent with this card than what we saw in the 5 of Wands. Because in the 5, like, you still kind of, in this energy, you still kind of care what people think. And I would argue that in the 6 of Wands, you also still kind of care what people think. By the time we get to the 7 of Wands, you don't, we're not here to make friends. Like, we're here to do what we want to do. This is the card of self-interest. The 7 of Wands is a very polarizing energy. This is someone who isn't interested in resting on their laurels. This is someone who isn't interested in like doing things the way they've always been done. The 7 of Wands is about how when you're going after a goal, a passion, when you're bringing a vision into reality, there's gonna come a point in time where you have to fight for it. You have to stand your ground. You have to be willing to commit and look like a crazy person in the process. The 7 of Wands is a spiritual battle of sorts. And when we see the 7 of Wands, it is actually a sign that you have the upper hand in this situation, or whoever is being represented by this card, they have the upper hand. They have some kind of advantage. They have some kind of edge. Yeah, so in the reverse position, it's a sign that you don't have the upper hand, that the person or the obstacle, the situation in front of you is actually stronger than you. So you might need to adjust your approach to the situation. The 7 of Wands in the reverse position can represent letting down your guard, not being too stubborn and being a little bit more flexible, being a little bit more vulnerable than maybe you would like to be. And the 7 of Wands in the reverse position can also manifest as feeling like you don't have it in you to defend yourself. And so because of that, this energy can feel very apathetic or wishy-washy. The 7 of Wands in the reverse position can represent people-pleasing or being too empathetic and not having a backbone, like just not having strong boundaries, not having strong opinions. This card in the reverse position can signify just like not having a very strong identity or like understanding of yourself and your self-worth. Whereas in the upright position, yes, this can come across as intimidating or someone who's self-righteous or stubborn, but really at the end of the day, like, it's healthy for you to have a strong sense of self. It's healthy for you to fight for what you believe in. It's healthy for you to defend yourself. Like, yes, be open-minded. Yes, don't close yourself off from other people's opinions and judgments because sometimes they're helpful. But sevens are about decisions and discernment, right? Like if we think back to the Seven of Cups, this was about examining a bunch of options and figuring out which one was actually in alignment with us, with our heart and what we valued. So the Seven of Wands is an extension of that. This is about acting on your passions. This is about acting in alignment with the things that you believe in, with the things that you care about. This is about living with your heart on your sleeve. All right? So after we live with our heart on our sleeve and defend ourselves, whether our guard is up or whether our guard is down, we move on to the Eight of Wands. And this card's pretty interesting. There are no people. The artwork isn't anything crazy. It's very simple. We literally see 8 wands falling from the sky. And in the background, we see a hill, a grassy hill, with a little blue river stream. So this card is about passion, impulses, ideas, creative breakthroughs literally falling down from the sky. This is the energy of communicating with spirit, communicating with something bigger than you, being inspired by your surroundings, being inspired by a certain conversation. The Eight of Wands is about inspiration, communication. This is about quick inspiration, quick breakthroughs, quick conversations. This is about speed and momentum and fast developments. This is about messages. Can like literally represent phone calls, text messages. The Eight of Wands brings a sense of clarity and excitement. Anytime you see the Eight of Wands, it's a sign to take action right now. That idea that you have, start working on it right now. Do not delay. Like I said in the very beginning, with any kind of wand card, with any kind of fire energy, it does have an expiration date. The momentum will subside eventually. So this is a gift. This insight, this idea, this breakthrough is a gift. Do not squander this gift. Go act on it right now. If you're doing a reading and you want a yes or no answer, the Eight of Wands in the upright position is always going to be a yes. Go for it and take advantage of this opportunity right now. This card can also represent travel, physically traveling from one place to another, moving from one physical location to another. This card can also represent an offer. So a job offer, a romantic offer, being asked out to a date, being invited somewhere. The number 8 is about power. This is about karma. This is about our personal destiny. And that's because 8 flipped on its side is the infinity symbol, but also 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 is about stability and protecting what's created. So when we double that, we're doubling down on the protection of what's been divinely organized and orchestrated. So the 8s in general, but the 8 of Wands truly has a lot to do with you connecting to people that were destined to be in your life, or you connecting to spirit, to source, to your path in a way that's a lot more authentic and a lot more exciting. The Eight of Wands is exciting, quick, fast movement, regardless of the situation. Okay, now in the reverse position, this represents delays. This energy, it's still exciting, but something is slowed down. And because of that, this can manifest as anxiety. This can manifest as frustration. The Eight of Wands in the reverse position is a message that never gets delivered. It's something that doesn't go through. There's a lack of communication. This could be pressing the block button and cutting somebody out of your life. In the reverse position, this card can signify canceled plans or delayed plans. There might be some kind of issue with travel. This can represent a car breaking down. So this energy is stagnant, it's irritated, but it can also be very impulsive. And so the Eight of Wands in the reverse position tends to signify like a lack of clarity, some form of confusion, and whether that stems from having to change up your plans or not receiving direct communication. There is something very powerful and very unique about the Eight of Wands, and like I said, this is about fast movement, fast communication. And so when we feel like we're in alignment, when we feel like we have tapped into a flow and an ease, and we feel like things are going our way and that the universe is putting the right people on our path and that things are lining up, that's an Eight of Wands kind of moment, okay? From this card, we add another wand into the equation, and that leads us to the Nine of Wands. In the Nine of Wands, we see a wounded warrior, and he is gripping onto one of those wands for dear life. His head is bandaged and his face is a little worrisome, and he's standing in front of 8 wands, guarding them. In my professional opinion, this energy is extremely significant and extremely important to understand, because the Nine of Wands symbolizes the exhaustion, the overwhelm, the anxiety, the uncertainty of transitioning out of old habits into new ones, transitioning out of an old way of living your life into a new way. And it represents this limbo period where we must take the time to integrate and sit with the fact that you will never be the same again. This dude, he's wounded and he's shell-shocked because he's been through so much. But there's no way you can live through as much as he has and not come out the other side a changed person. So to be in the Nine of Wands energy is to like be really, really afraid of the future because you don't want the past to repeat. But the truth is, like, you've broken a pattern, you've broken free of a cycle, like it's not gonna repeat. And that's scary because you don't know what's next because you've never dealt with it before. But in this energy, we have to create the courage, we have to create the momentum in ourselves to keep going. It's like the idea that when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, you have to go find it. You have to create it for yourself. And I also like the concept or the quote that the light at the end of the tunnel isn't an illusion, the tunnel is. All right. So when we see the Nine of Wands, it's a sign that, like, listen, you're less naive than you were before. You're wiser now. That same shit, it's not gonna happen. And if it does happen, you have the discernment, you have the ability to not make the same decisions that you made before. When we see the Nine of Wands in the upright position, this is a sign to rest and regather your strength, but know that it's really, really important to keep going, to take the next step, to venture into the unknown. No matter how afraid you are, you can be scared and you can be brave at the same exact time. Those two do not cancel each other out. Okay, courage is not the absence of fear. It is persisting in spite and despite of your fear. Okay, but when we see the Nine of Wands in the reverse position, this energy gets a little bit more intense. This is feeling really, really stuck, really stagnant. This is really feeling burnt out. Really feeling like a victim of your circumstances and feeling like you'll be doomed forever to repeat the same cycle. The Nine of Wands in the reverse position feels like a hamster running on a wheel. You feel like you'll never be able to get yourself out of a certain situation, okay? And when we're in this situation, the only way out is through resting. You can't act your way out of a Nine of Wands reverse situation because you are literally just going to repeat the same habits. So it's important for you to change things up, and that begins by not doing anything and by letting yourself feel the actual consequences of being as burnt out as you are. This is the energy of also feeling like it's you versus the world. Like you don't have anyone in your corner. No one really understands what you've been through. And there's something very isolated and defensive almost about the Nine of Wands in the reverse position. And this is also a sign to put some ego, put some pride to the side, and ask for the help that you need. In order to get out of the Nine of Wands in the reverse position, we must be a little bit vulnerable. We must be willing to be vulnerable. We must be willing to talk about our wounds, our physical wounds, our emotional wounds with others, okay? In the reverse position, in the upright position, this card is about digesting, unpacking, and integrating everything that we've been through so that we can move on from the 9 to the 10. And in the 10 of Wands, we see a man who has his arms full of his wands, and he is charging forth towards a town scene in the background, but he is so consumed, he is so overwhelmed by those wands that they are totally blocking and restricting his ability to see clearly and to see where he's going. This energy is about perseverance. This energy is about seeing things through to the bitter end. This is the energy of responsibility and accountability. And responsibility and accountability for the things that we're passionate about. And so even passion can feel like a burden sometimes. Even passion can feel restrictive sometimes. But ultimately the 10 of Wands represents like burdens and responsibilities that you're willing to take on, obligations that you're excited to take on, even if it means you gotta uphold your end of a bargain, you gotta put in the work. 10s are the completion of one cycle and the beginning of another. 10s represent fully grasping a lesson to the point where something internally in us shifts. So because of that, the 10 of Wands really is about completing something old, completing something in the present moment so that you can move on to something new, so that you can take this experience and apply it to a brand new situation. The 10 of Wands represents drive, determination, ambition, and a willingness to not give up. Even when things get challenging, even when you can't see the future and what's in front of you and what you're moving into, okay? This is being able and being willing to do the work that no one else wants to do, okay? When we see this energy in the reverse position, this can indicate releasing burdens. So like releasing, walking away from responsibilities. 1, walking away from obligations, but 2, also like cutting out people, places, and things that feel like burdens. Cutting out people, places, and things that drain your energy. The 10 of Wands in the reverse position can also represent an opportunity that isn't worth completing. In the upright position, this is a sign to keep going, like see this through, stick it out. In the reversed position, this can indicate some resistance between you and whatever you're working on. And depending on the rest of the reading, that resistance might be extremely significant. Like there might be a reason why you feel like you can't fully commit to this thing, why you can't fully see it through. Like maybe you're not supposed to. Maybe it's a waste of your time and energy. And maybe there's a need for you to release it. There's a need for you to release whatever feels like a burden. Also in the reverse position, the 10 of Wands can feel like the straw that broke the camel's back. So similar to the 9 of Wands in the reverse position, like this is a feeling of burnout. This is feeling a loss of passion, a loss of momentum, a loss of energy, and it's important to take care of yourself. It's important to check in because sometimes it's not worth it to push through and to keep going past the point of exhaustion. In conclusion, the 10 of Wands is about taking on responsibility willingly because you're passionate about this opportunity, because you're passionate about this relationship, okay? Because you care a lot about the situation in front of you, so you're willing to see things through, you're willing to push through, even in really difficult, really challenging moments, okay? And it wraps up the initial story of the Wands, which leads us to the court cards. All right, we're going to talk about the Page of Wands, the Knight of Wands, the Queenie, and the King. So let's start with the Page. On this card, we see a very blonde, very gender neutral looking person wearing bright yellow. They have some lizards on their garment, and that represents being fireproof. The newt, or the lizard, is a creature that metaphorically represents being fireproof. And so the Page is holding their wand, wearing a cute little hat, looking very optimistically up towards the heavens, and in the background we see a very Egyptian desert scene with the couple pyramids. This is a very embodied energy. This is someone who gets excited very easily, but they also get bored just as easily, and maybe they also get angry pretty easily. The Page of Wands is about taking on a challenge, taking on a new opportunity, taking on a new form of adventure. This energy is about stepping outside of your comfort zone, and it's about being at the very beginning of a rather long commitment or a long journey. The Page of Wands is an energy of someone who doesn't have a lot of life experience under their belt, but they're about to move through a lot of life experience. The Page of Wands is similar to the Page of Swords, in the sense that this is the energy of being a beginner, starting something that is uncomfortable because it's so new. And when you see these cards show up for you in a reading, it's an opportunity and an invitation to not take yourself so seriously, and to not hold yourself back out of the fear of looking like you don't know what you're doing, out of a fear of looking stupid. Because the Page of Wands, he's gonna look a little stupid to people who don't understand why he's doing what he's doing. This is about taking a risk. This is about pursuing your passions, pursuing your creative impulses, pursuing your intuitive impulses, doing something different than what society wants you to do. This is a soldier that's gone rogue, okay? And so because of that, he has to not care what other people think and what other people have to say about it. The Page of Wands shows up when it's time for you to let your enthusiasm lead the way. Let your desire guide you, let your passion consume you, like just give in. When this card shows up in the reversed position, this can represent a lack of passion, a lack of energy. This typically represents like scattered energy and not being able to focus on something. This can also indicate fear, anxiety, or a hesitancy to fully commit to something new. In the upright position, the Page of Wands loves a challenge. In the reversed position, the Page of Wands wishes that life was easier. Okay, this is an energy of like not being willing to take a risk, not being willing to step outside of your comfort zone, being afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. Yeah, essentially, the Page of Wands in the reverse position, it has lost its zest for life. This energy can feel very jaded, very cold, very cynical. It feels like it doesn't want to waste its time or its money. In the worst case scenario, a Page of Wands can, in the reversed position, can manifest as someone feeling like they know everything there is to know, they've seen everything there is to see, and it's just not the case, man. In the upright, this is a sign to expand your perception of the world, expand your perception of yourself, expand what you think is possible by doing something that you've never done before. And the Page of Wands can also represent like physically traveling, physically seeing more of the world. All right, as we move from this wide-eyed, enthusiastic Page energy, we transition into the ambitious energy of the Knight of Wands. On this card, we see a knight who is also dressed in that yellowy lizard garment. He's wearing armor. He is riding a horse that is in action in midair, and he also has some Egyptian pyramids behind him, and he is traveling through the desert. Now, the Knight of Wands is someone who is filled to the brim with energy. The Knight of Wands knows what it wants and it's not afraid to go after it. This energy is very enthusiastic, very excitable, very optimistic. It's very creative. It's also very athletic and sporty. This energy is also very flexible. It's very carefree, so it comes across as a free spirit. It is also very outgoing, very charming, very sexy, very seductive. The Knight of Wands is an energy of someone who's here for a good time, not a long time. So because of that, it can come across as very flirtatious, very charming. Again, it knows what it wants and it's not afraid to go after it. Essentially though, this Knight of Wands shows up when it's time to be very intentional about our forward movement. Similar to the Page of Wands, this is the energy of exploring and being exposed to new things and new experiences through travel, through learning, by following your enthusiasm, by following whatever situation, whatever opportunity seems most exciting to you at the time. So the Knight of Wands, similar to the Knight of Pentacles, is about pursuing and accomplishing a very, very specific goal. Like I said, the Knight of Wands is an energy that's very intentional and very purposeful, even though it moves very fast. So this energy moves so much faster than the Knight of Pentacles, but both of these guys are gonna get to where they want to go, okay? This might be a sloppier approach, whereas the Knight of Pentacles is a little bit more of a control freak, a little bit more of a perfectionist. So the lesson here is like when it comes to accomplishing anything and creating some kind of momentum in our life, it takes a little bit of balance, takes a little bit of a dance between these two knights. Because you do have to act on your passions, you do have to honor your energy levels and take advantage of the moments in time where you do feel really confident and clear about something, and then understand that your consistency, your pace is in the long run going to be more important than your speed. But if you don't have a sense of urgency when it comes to the things that are important to you, then nothing's actually going to come to fruition. You know what I mean? The urgency of the Knight of Wands is important. It's everything, actually. His sense of urgency is what helps him get the job done. All right, so in the reversed position, this energy can come across as very restless, too spread out, spread too thin. This is an energy of instability. The Knight of Wands in the reverse position can be a very like self-destructive card. It can be destructive in general, actually. This can be a person with a really bad temper. This energy can get very aggressive very fast. It can also be very violent. But in general, the Knight of Wands in the reverse position is an unproductive energy. This is a feeling of having so much energy and just not using it in a very healthy way. This energy can also be very indecisive, impulsive, impatient, brash, childish. This energy can come across as very cynical. There's a lack of purpose here, a lack of focus, a lack of intention. The Knight of Wands in the reversed position can signify pent-up energy and someone who talks themselves out of their dreams, someone who has talked themselves out of their desires and impulses, because the truth is the Knight of Wands is a free spirit, is someone that's very carefree, someone who follows their bliss, follows their desires. And so in the reverse position, it just signifies a blockage and a depression and a repression of desire, basically, which tends to manifest in very unhealthy ways. So in the upright position, the Knight of Wands encourages us to pursue our passions, to follow our desires, to act with intention. And last but not least, this card, this energy, it drives home the idea of doing the things that set your soul on fire, okay? Because it's very, very important to like honor that life force energy that flows through you. Don't repress it, don't deny it, work with it. Let it flow through you. Listen to it, okay? From the Knight, we move on to the Queen. The Queen of Wands is a woman dressed in yellow, and she's got a white cape cloaked over her shoulders. She's sitting in a throne, and her body is facing us, but her head is off to the side. On her throne, we see a couple lions, and then actually 2 more lions decorate her armrests. She's holding a wand and a sunflower, and we see a little black cat at her feet and some pyramids in the background. The Queen of Wands is a very powerful, magical, witchy woman, okay? That little black cat at her foot is a nod to the High Priestess, and it's a reference, it references the mystery and the receptivity of the female polarity, okay? The lions on her throne are a symbol of divine protection. The sunflower, I might have mentioned in the sun card, that sunflowers are a flower that during the day, its head is upturned towards the sunlight, and then on a cloudy day or when the sun sets, the sunflowers themselves actually turn towards each other as a sign of like looking for warmth and comfort. They act as the sun for one another, but also sunflowers have such a large head that sometimes the stem itself like cracks under the pressure of that head. So metaphorically, symbolically, sunflowers can represent being too independent, being too stubborn, and not being able to receive help from others. In any event, the Queen of Wands is a very intense and charming and charismatic energy. She's very humorous, she's very smart, she's very witty, she's also gorgeous, she's very beautiful. She's also very stoic until you get to talk to her, and then you're like, oh, okay, she is very charming, she is very friendly, she is very warm. The Queen of Wands is someone that has very strong boundaries. She also has a lot of duties, a lot of obligations. She's got a lot of things she's got to get done. This energy is very creative and it's very intelligent. So the Queen of Wands is a leader, and she leads by example. Other people look up to her not because of like what she tells them to do, but more so the fact that like she's a living example of what is possible. So when we were talking about the King of Pentacles, I said that he was a figure that people come to because they want something from him. He can provide them with advice, he can provide them with resources. He's got the plugs, he's got the connects. But when it comes to someone like the Queen of Wands, people don't admire her, people don't come to her because of what she has. More so, this is about who she is. This is an energy of someone who has lived a very inspirational life. Like I said, she leads by example. She's never someone who's gonna micromanage you and tell you how to live your life. She's just, she's a role model in her own right. It is most important to note that the Queen of Wands is a deeply attractive energy. It's deeply magnetic. The reason being is that she owns her power. She knows her power. She knows her power as a feminine person, as a woman. She knows her power as a human. She knows her power as a leader. And to know your power, to own your power, it's a matter of owning all sides of yourself. This isn't about exerting more energy, but rather holding space for your fear, holding space for like the good parts of you, the bad parts of you, the ugly parts of you without judgment. Understanding that so long as you are human, you're going to be unhealed, and that's okay. Okay? She doesn't have anything to prove to anybody, and that makes her so attractive. She doesn't need anybody else. She doesn't need anybody else's approval. That also makes her attractive. The Queen of Wands is an energy of always getting what you want because you know you're worthy of it. Okay? It's a very like law of attraction, manifestation, coming to fruition kind of energy. Okay. The Queen of Wands is seductive and she's sexy, but not necessarily because of her physical appearance. Okay? This is different from the Queen of Pentacles and different from the Queen of Cups. Wands are about energy. This is about the attitude that you're bringing to the table. Her attitude, her energy is extremely attractive because it's joyous and it feels good to be around her. The most attractive thing about the Queen of Wands is her personality. And she uses that to her advantage. Okay, so like I said, this is also the energy of like feeling worthy of what you want. This is the energy of receiving what you want. And so because of that, this is the energy of being very committed to a vision, being very committed to a goal, being very committed to a dream. So even in the upright position, sometimes the Queen of Wands can show up as a person or an energy that's being a little too selfish, too stubborn, too committed to seeing things a certain way, that they're not willing to see someone else's side of an argument or a conversation. The Queen of Wands can also show up as someone who is too invested in other people's business. And so because of that, she can be a little too selfless. Or too smothering. But in any event, the Queen of Wands represents someone who is full of life, full of energy, full of ideas, and full of enthusiasm and excitement. When this card is in the reversed position, this can indicate a repression of energy, a repression of our desires, a repression of our sexuality, a repression of our creativity, a repression of our personality, because she's an energy that has a lot of personality. And so on the flip side, this can manifest as feeling burnt out, feeling depressed, feeling not good enough. This can be too sensitive to criticism. The Queen of Wands in the reversed position is someone who is already very self-critical, and so she can also be very defensive when someone else tries to chime in and insert their 2 cents into a situation. In the reversed position, this indicates caring too much about what other people think. When the Queen of Wands is in the reversed position, it's asking you to be a lot more gentle and forgiving and accepting of yourself. There's a lack of self-love. There's a disempowerment that shows up when she's in the reversed position. But essentially, the Queen of Wands is an energy of trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, listening to your gut, and doing what feels right until it doesn't feel right anymore, and then you go on to do something else. The Queen of Wands energy, it is seductive, it is inspirational, kind of by accident, because she's doing what it takes to make her happy, and then other people pay attention to that and want to be a part of it and want to learn how she does it, you know? Okay, so from the Queen of Wands, we move on to the very, very last card of the Wands, but also the last card that I have to talk about in general. So we're gonna end it with this King of Wands. And this king is a redhead. He's sitting on his throne. He also has some lions behind him. Again, lions are a symbol of protection. He's got a nice chain on. He's wearing orange, red, and green, and he's holding his wand. And like I said earlier, he's got a little lizard, a little newt by his feet. This is a very confident energy. This is a very creatively empowered, inspirational, but motivational energy. Okay, this king knows exactly what needs to be done, and he has the energy, he has the drive, he has the ambition and the determination to get it done. This king is also very hands-on. He's the most hands-on king out of the cups, the pentacles, and the swords. Okay, now this king is very charming and likable. It's very Leo energy. So Leo, it wants to be liked. It wants to be admired. It wants to be the center of attention. This king is naturally the center of attention because of the energy that he brings to the table. However, he does tend to think that his way is the only way. This energy can manifest as someone who thinks they're always right, but that's because the value that they're bringing to the table is pretty insane and it's pretty undeniable. And so when the King of Wands speaks, like, you're gonna want to take notes, you're gonna want to pay attention, because 9 times out of 10 he is always right. The King of Wands has a vision. This is someone who is deeply like excited, deeply enthusiastic, deeply grateful to do what he does. Like I said, this energy is creative, it is imaginative, it is passionate. He's the king of passion. He has a lust for life, he has a love for life, and he is able to share his vision with others, share his optimism with others. He's able to keep this fire burning for others that aren't as optimistic, that aren't as passionate as him. He's a symbol of hope. He's really someone that people admire and people look up to, similar to the Queen of Wands. This energy is very authoritative, very dominant. He is a man that doesn't like excuses. He doesn't like being told no, okay? And he's also good at living in the moment. He is a very grounded, very present energy. And this is also the energy of someone who is focused on output, not outcome. And so that ties back to this idea that he's very good at living in the present. He's good at handling the situation that is in front of him without overthinking the future too much, which kind of contradicts what I said about this energy being able to hold a vision and stay optimistic. And maybe the reason why he's able to hold a vision and stay optimistic is the fact that he doesn't let the future stress him out. He literally is only able to control what is in front of him, and so he's going to do that to the best of his ability and then release whatever is not in his control. The King of Pentacles, a little bit of a control issue. The King of Cups, big control issues. King of Wands, not so much, okay? Now, in the reversed position, this is someone who is not good at staying in the present moment. This is a very impatient energy. This is the energy of a hothead. This is the energy of someone with a temper for sure. More so than what we saw in the Knight of Wands. This is next level. In the reversed position, the King of Wands can represent toxic masculinity, toxic masculine traits in both men, but also women, or regardless of gender. The King of Wands in the reversed position is also a very narcissistic energy. So this is like the shadow attributes of Leo energy. The King of Wands reversed can represent a lack of confidence, a lack of imagination, a lack of vision, a lack of motivation. In my professional opinion, the King of Wands in the reversed position tends to come across as overcompensation. So this is the energy of someone who is both insecure and arrogant. Like a combo that you wouldn't think would work, but yet a lot of people move through this and move with this kind of energy. The King of Wands in the reverse position, it feels the need to prove its worth, to explain to you how important they are. And there's just like an overall neediness and overall lack of confidence. Whereas when this energy is in the upright position, like you can't tell that king shit. This is deep embodied empowerment, deep embodied confidence. And this is an energy of someone who really cares about the well-being and the passion and the creativity and the life force energy flowing within other people. So much so that this king is going to take the time to make sure that they not only feel good, but that everybody around them feels good, feels supported in some way, shape, or form. All right, my friend, that's it. That is the Wands. That is the end of this tarot course. So to wrap up this specific video, in the Wands, we moved from feelings of passion and inspiration into a period of planning and figuring out how the frick we're gonna use that inspiration that was given to us by the divine. How the frick are we gonna use this energy? And the truth is, in order to use your energy efficiently, it takes a certain amount of rest, it takes a certain amount of planning, it takes a certain amount of meeting other people halfway and not wasting your energy. Also understand that attention is a form of energy. Attention is your most powerful form of currency, and wherever attention flows, that's where energy goes. We can also use our energy to stand up for ourselves, stand up for what we believe in. It's important to acknowledge when we're overwhelmed, but it's also important to see through the commitments that are important to us. So the Wands in the tarot, just like the element of fire, teach us and remind us that life without passion is not worth living. And we must protect our passion, we must share our passion with others. Not only is life not worth living without passion, life would not be possible without passion. Life without desire wouldn't be possible. Desire fuels creation. Desire is the engine of creation. Desire, sexuality, creativity, passion. It makes life worth living. Okay, so that's it. That's it. As always, thank you for watching this. Thank you for being here with me. I hope this course was helpful in any kind of capacity, no matter where you are at in your tarot journey. You can feel free to watch these videos as much or as little as you'd like. And I tried to jam pack a lot of information into each video, which might have been overwhelming at first, but maybe each time you come back to watch these, you just pick up on something new that you missed the first time or the previous time. And when it comes to something like tarot, you're never gonna fully be done and finished learning it. Like, there's always gonna be more to unpack and more to learn about, which is part of the fun. It's part of what makes it so overwhelming at first, but it's ultimately part of the fun of practicing this mode of communication and this mode of storytelling and this mode of connecting to yourself and connecting to your spirituality. So thank you. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop them in the comment section below this video. You can email me, you can reach out to me. Do not be a stranger. I send you so much love, and I wish you all the best along this journey of not only learning tarot, but connecting more deeply to yourself and connecting more deeply to this crazy world that we live within. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.